The coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 has caused people across the world to quarantine for weeks on end. Let's take a look at quarantine in the Bible. The ancient Israelites differentiated between people and things that are tahor, which means pure or spiritually clean, and people or things that are tameh, which means impure or spiritually unclean. When the Bible speaks of quarantine, it is for people who have become tameh, impure. The quarantine removes the impurity and, together with some other rites, allows the once impure to return to the camp and the city. There are three general ways to become impure in the Bible. The first is to come in contact with death, whether it be in the form of a corpse or the carcass of an impure animal. The following law appears in the book of Numbers. The one who touches the corpse of any human being shall be unclean 7 days. Later in the book, just after the war with Midian, Moses orders his soldiers to observe a 7-day quarantine for their killing of the enemy. And as for you, remain outside the camp 7 days. Whoever has killed any person, and whoever has touched any slain, purify yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. The second source of impurity was that of genitalia. This includes regular emissions such as semen, menstrual blood, and even the birth of a child. It also includes unhealthy emissions, the kind of infections a urologist or gynecologist would treat today. Each type of emission has its own length of quarantine, but, according to Leviticus, the longest was for a mother who just gave birth to a girl. If she bears a female, she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as during her menstruation, and she shall remain in a state of blood purification for 66 days. After this mother's quarantine is up, she is able to bring an offering in the tabernacle. Male quarantine for genital emissions can be seen in a law from Deuteronomy. If anyone among you has been rendered unclean by a nocturnal emission, meaning semen, he must leave the camp, and he must not re-enter the camp. Toward evening he shall bathe in water, and at sundown he may re-enter the camp. The third and best known category of impurity was Tzara'at, which refers to different types of skin diseases and molds and discolorations. The King James Bible of 1611 translated Tzara'at as leprosy, and even though it's not really a good fit for the Hebrew term, the translation has persisted. People with Tzara'at were quarantined outside the camp until the priest pronounced them tahor, pure. A number of the people in the Bible had Tzara'at, including Moses for an instant, but we only know of 2 of them that were quarantined. Let's turn to the book of Numbers, in which the prophetess Miriam is punished for speaking negatively of Moses. Behold, Miriam had Tzara'at like snow. And the Lord said to Moses, Let her be quarantined for 7 days outside the camp, and afterwards let her be brought back in. And Miriam was quarantined for 7 days outside the camp. The people did not set off until Miriam was brought back in. Here the Hebrew root for quarantine is sagar, the same root for closing something like a gate or a door. The person is closed off from the rest of the people. The second example comes from the book of Chronicles, which tells the story of King Uzziah, also known as Azariah, who gets caught red-handed offering incense in the temple, which was not allowed because it could only be done by priests. Uzziah, holding the censer and ready to burn incense, got angry. But as he got angry with the priests, Tzara'at broke out on his forehead. The priests rushed him out of there. He too made haste to get out, for the Lord had struck him with a plague. King Uzziah was a leper until the day of his death. He lived in the quarantine house as a leper, for he was cut off from the house of the Lord. We have seen the 3 types of impurity that require quarantine, namely the impurity of death, the impurity of genitalia, and the impurity of Tzara'at, often translated as leprosy. Each of these categories has many laws with minute details, but we have seen a nice general overview of the different types. Although King Uzziah was quarantined until the end of his life, and he died with Tzara'at, others like Miriam were healed and allowed to re-enter the camp. This video was inspired by the coronavirus pandemic of 2020, and it is my sincere prayer and hope that everyone in quarantine stays healthy, stays happy, and re-enters the camp in due time.